Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate ever to be. I am Frank, and along with me is...
Oops. Charlie.
What just happened? Are we good? Are we good? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry. This is the quality you've come to expect this program, and we will deliver and such. Last week, well, actually, before we get into last week, I've realized a new point I'm at in my life, Charlie. I've realized that the quality of a nose hair trimmer is enough for me to start considering a purchase. That is where I am.
Are you getting the tugging or the...
No, I'm just not content with the clearing abilities. I have recently gotten a hair on both nostrils on the outside, well, on the inside of my nose, but on the outside part, and they grow like this. So as soon as it just exists beyond a smidge, it goes right to tickling the nostril. And so I'm just constantly just like, oh God, feeling like I have a booger, just feeling like there's just something up my nose. And I don't know, sometimes I attack, and I say, we're good. And then that day, not so good.
Nose hairs are weird to me because odd ones tend to grow extremely fast, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, like every now and then it'll just be like you have a 30-foot nose hair. Just, you go, how the hell did that even get there? I just cut them. It's I've got somebody I won't call out by name, a friend I used to live with, and his nose hairs always cascade out like a majestic forest, like a willow tree, if you were. Anyway, so last week we had technical difficulties. Oh, are we good on both of our screens?
We're having a little bit of technical difficulties right now. The auto scene switcher is not working properly.
Oh, no.
So,
Should we pause and regroup?
start over.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're back. We had some issues. Different issues than last week. Now it's just other issues. We're figuring it out. We're getting fancy. So I know we covered the most important issue of the nose hair clippers. So last week I had some things queued up that we never got to, and then somehow this week things just are relevant again. So last week had, of course, the biggest surprise that no one on this planet saw coming, and that was that the leader of the Wagner Group, what's his name? I always got to look at it to pronounce it. Prigozhin. So Prigozhin, who is the head of the Wagner Group, who led the brief coup against Putin during this war in Ukraine, who said Putin's men were firing on their men, and he was marching, and he was going to go all the way to the Capitol and all this stuff. And everyone's like, oh, like everybody, seemed like everybody on the left was like, sweet, Putin's going to be out. It's like, yeah, maybe the guy that's been running the private military's more dangerous, equally as dangerous, maybe crazy. I don't know. But either way, he marched in, and at some point they made peace through, oh shoot, which country was it that they, it wasn't Macedonia. It was it Macedonia? No. Oh, well. There was another country that stepped in, a friendly Russian, a country friendly to Russia stepped in to help broker peace and go, okay, listen, we're going to let Prigozhin, just dip out. He can come over here. He's sorry. The Wagner Group's going to go back to fighting for you. He's really sorry about that, and we're just going to no harm, no foul this thing. He's really sorry. I was scrolling to see if I can find the damn country. Well, whatever. It'll pop up in my head later. So, everyone's like, well, that was weird. Putin just let him go? And everyone thought that was interesting. And ends up his plane crashed. So he got to live free of Putin and all that. And him and his number 2 guy and a couple other high-ranking people were all on this airplane. And then it exploded, and it crashed. And so, believe it or not, someone that led a coup against Pooty Poot did not get to live happily ever after in Russia. Kind of like when those other people fell out of hospitals and, all that kind of stuff. And so that was big surprising news. However, today I just learned, and this might not be quite as new, I don't see the date on it, but 3 days ago. So, were you aware of some of the moon activity lately from different countries?
Oh yes, in India, I believe, just landed on the dark side.
The South Pole. Technically, there's no dark side of the moon. Okay, that's just an album. Okay.
Great album.
It is. But yeah, so India had that successful landing on the South Pole, and so that was a big deal. And then Russia, a couple days before that, they had something they were doing. It was like an unmanned sort of drone ship. Well, it crashed into the moon. It got close. They tried. Well, as of 3 days ago, one of Russia's leading space scientists has died after he was allegedly poisoned with mushrooms. Happens all the time. Professor Vitaly Melnikov was head of the Department of Rocket and Space Systems at RSC, Moscow's leading spacecraft manufacturer. The 77-year-old was battling illness caused by the severe poisoning for more than 2 weeks, but doctors were unable to save him. Inedible mushrooms have been cited as the source of his poisoning. Let's see. I think. And there was another one. It comes just weeks after Putin's dreams were dashed when a Russian spacecraft sent to explore the moon crashed into the surface after going into an uncontrolled orbit. So this guy failed Russia, and now he's dead. And there was a second guy that was part of it too that also is in the hospital for mushroom poisoning.
They're not even trying to hide it.
No, they haven't tried to hide it in a while. Like that one guy that killed in England, where they're like, he died from radioactive poisoning. Like, and I don't know how he got that from drinking tea, but it's just like, yep, they got to him. And so no, I don't think he's trying to hide it. It's just like, you're supposed to explore the moon. Now we wasted, I forget what it was, 100 and something million, 200 something $1 million, and I look like a fool, and I'm trying to do this stuff in Ukraine. Just give them the mushrooms.
Yeah, not even like at least the CIA has like the ice dart heart attack gun, but Russia's just give them some bad mushrooms.
They might have that kind of stuff. They're like, we're not going to use that on our own. That's for international stuff. Like, let's just get it done. Just poison them. Or like, there's a couple guys that were like, he was walking around visiting someone in the hospital and he just fell out of his 6th floor window. It's like, he fell out of a 6th floor hospital window? Like, I don't know. I've walked around buildings and never fallen out of any other windows. Like, ever. I got like 100% success rate on this one, But in Russia, they are still killing people. So that was I wanted to talk about Prigozhin. Were you shocked when that happened? When Prigozhin's plane got shot down?
Oh, no, not at all. No.
Yeah, I know. So it was one of those, like, after last week, I was like, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to talk about this one. But they came back in the news because they're killing new people. Another big one that was from last week, which just to touch on briefly, was, of course, Joe Biden finally went to Maui, talked to the Hawaiians. Of course, as you remember, he was asked about it while he was on vacation on the beach in Delaware while Hawaii was burning. And they said, Mr. President, about this wildfire situation, what do you have to say? And he said, no comment. Like, you don't have any comment? No comment. And so he was on vacation, which made sense. So Hawaii's burning and stuff. And, but then he had this Lake Tahoe vacation lined up. So after the Delaware vacation, Biden went to the Lake Tahoe vacation, which they're kind of looking at now because it's a very rich donor. And they're just like, hey, man, you got a receipt? Because you say you rented it. So what's that? And then the neighbors are going, hey, do you have a receipt? Because this neighborhood doesn't allow you to do that. You can't do short-term rentals. So show me the receipt, too. And so now the neighbors are kind of pissed, saying, you can't rent it out. And the accountability people are saying, you literally have to rent it out. Otherwise, this is a federal crime. And another one. So after that vacation, then he went to Maui. And, of course, he spoke the healing words. Can we jump to this clip here? I'm going to try to get my thingy in my ear. Come on. Should I not talk during it?
I think you'd be okay.
Okay.
Let me see here.
I think I put the wrong one on.
we're going to the...
We're going to do the one that's the one that we were...
Lightning struck?
Yeah, but not the first one. The one that should be the leftmost one on your screen. Let's see. That's Will Kane, his Twitter feed.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Will Kane's from Fox and Friends. I had no idea who that guy was. So this is him. He's going to be in some fine flowers. Because, of course, he's Hal Warren.
Okay, here we go.
I don't want to compare difficulties.
Probably should.
We have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home.
You did.
Years ago, now 15 years ago, I was in Washington doing Meet the Press. It was a sunny Sunday.
Sunny Sunday.
And lightning struck at home on a little lake. It's outside
A lake?
our home. Not a lake.
Oh, a big pond.
And hit the wire and came up underneath our home into
The heating ducts?
the air
Oh,
conditioning.
okay.
To make a long story short,
Doing a good job of that.
I almost lost my wife, my 67 and my cat. All kidding aside, I watched the firefighters, the way they responded.
Yeah.
You know, there's an old expression. I grew up right across the street from a fire hall in Claymont, Delaware.
We can get rid of
Blah,
that.
blah, blah, blah.
And the expression,
So there was that. First off, his ability to tell a story. I mean, that's a great story. You know, the lake, well, it's a pond. Hit my heating. It was my air conditioning. But no, so obviously he goes in there and he compares this minor kitchen fire that was contained in 20 minutes while he was in another city to having your friends and family and neighbors burnt to a crisp in some sort of unrecognizable, just carbon situation. Thousands of missing children and people. It's like, but hey, you know, I had this fire and could have taken out my Cadillac, my 1967 Corvette. So that didn't go over well in Hawaii. Also, it's not true, especially the part where at the end he says he watched the firefighters, because at the very beginning of the sentence or the story, he said he was doing Meet the Press in Washington, D.C., and it struck in Delaware when he wasn't home. But then he was watching the firefighters as they worked in Delaware. And it was very impressive. Which, I mean, if he could have gotten from D.C. to Delaware in less than 20 minutes and gotten to his house, that would have been impressive. But it didn't go over too well in Hawaii. They, people were booing him when he finally showed up. You know, people had big tarps on their house that said no comment on it. And Hawaii generally, outside of like elected senators and like DC politicians that are, everybody's a Democrat, you know, the governor's a Democrat. So if you get the elected Democrats, they had very nice things to say about Biden. A lot of the people, they did not. And so that was something. So it was like, all right, that was pretty stupid, this story. I think a lot of people could agree it was pretty stupid, right?
I mean, yeah. He's draped in leis, Hawaiian leis.
You know, I'm told, and I've never been to Hawaii, I'm told that's a sign of being welcome. And so maybe it's just what you have to do, I guess, I guess you don't have to, but maybe taking it off would be insulting or something. But here's a couple days later. Here's another thing where Biden is talking. You see Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, a piece of garbage over his shoulder. And then I forget who that is. That's not Mayorkas. What's that guy's name? The Monopoly man looking guy. I forget who he is. But anyway, let's see what he had to say this next time around. I should have set that up a little smoother.
I didn't anything like that, but lightning struck my house. We had to be out of that house for about 7 months while it was repaired because so much damage was done to the house and half the house almost collapsed.
Yeah. Yeah. So he told the lightning story again this week. And this time, when he told the lightning story, this time half his house almost collapsed. And he had to be out there for 7 months. This fire was contained in 20 minutes, which I think is from the time they called 911. I don't think the firefighters took 20 minutes to contain it. But like it was a small kitchen fire. Half the house did not collapse. Nobody hurt the cat or the Corvette or Jill. If Jill was even there, I assume Jill was there. None of these things happened. And like, he's just getting crazier. Oh man, I didn't pull this for this week, but did you see Mitch McConnell froze up again?
Yep.
The
internet's running wild with that.
There's something wrong with him. You know, like that first time he was doing a normal, this was like a more friendly group, you know? And, he just froze up. And the question was, have you thought about, what are your thoughts on running for re-election in 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is? And he just, what was that? It's like re-election. Do you want to run for re-election? And are we good? I'm loud. Normally I'm quiet. But yeah, so then that, like, first he's like, oh, I don't know. I can't hear you. And then they asked again, and he just kind of froze and looked, and they asked again. He just kind of faded up. And then his handler came over. He's like, oh, well, hold on, guys. We'll pause the questions. And then she called over this other guy, and I don't know what magic he whispered in this ear, but he went up to McConnell. It's just like, also McConnell's just like, okay, I can answer some questions now. Just like, and she's like, okay, anybody want to say new questions? Who wants a new question? And like, just like that, he just kind of came back. And the sneakiest part was, the next day, they released a doctor's note, basically, because, you know, they couldn't pretend this didn't happen. So they his doctor said, oh, yeah, we've checked out Mitch. He's fine to go back to work. You know, after concussion, sometimes getting lightheaded is a normal side effect that happens when you've been concussed. Because, you know, he fell however many months ago, you know. And so they're like, oh, he got a little lightheaded. So, I've been lightheaded. That's when you go, ooh, hold on. Okay.
You can speak.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go, just give me a minute. Give me 1 minute. What you don't do is just go, and just cease to be. Like, he was not there anymore, just like the first time. He left the building, and no one told his body. And so, like, but it's gross, you know. The only reason he will be in there, I mean, this is Mitch McConnell, you know. He will be in there until the last day. Like, he won't run for re-election probably. But, like, as long as the governor of Kentucky is a Democrat, Mitch McConnell will be a sitting senator because the governor would get to name an interim person. He would name a Democrat. And so they're just going to let his weird Senate majority butt go up there and just lose place, and they'll just poke him with sticks and get him over the finish line. But unless he dies, like, he's not stepping down. Just like Dianne Feinstein.
I think it's Feinstein.
Yeah, and but hers is even grosser because hers is just Pelosi doesn't want anybody but Adam Schiff to be the next senator from California. Adam Schiff's already. He's he's been sitting there kissing all of the butts all the time when. During the Russian collusion thing, he was the guy that was on CNN every day going, no, I've seen it. I've read it. It's going to be bad. It's incriminating. I've read it. I've seen it. I've held it. And of course it didn't exist. He was just lying like every single day, but he paid his dues, you know, and Pelosi works with him in the House, and Pelosi from California wants Adam Schiff to be the next senator. Whereas Gavin Newsom said that if he had to name, if he had to appoint somebody to the Senate, it would be a black woman. And because he said that means it's I forget who it is, but there's some popular figure that I think is at the state house level or something like that who's very likely to get this role. And so Pelosi just doesn't want her to be there. She wants Adam Schiff. And so Feinstein's going to sit there just melting into a glob of ooze until her reelection date. And then then Adam Schiff will jump up in there, or unless they can strike some deal, But and then old what's his face in Pennsylvania? What's that guy's name again? The guy whose brain didn't work when he got elected. Fetterman. Fetterman, the guy looks like Uncle Fester, except for he can't speak or anything because of all the strokes. And it's like, I do. I was like, okay, good speech, Senator. So we got that guy too. Like, we've got 3 sitting senators who can't talk without, like, that can't understand things that are happening. They don't understand. They can barely handle themselves, and they're serving. And there's 3 of them plus the president. 3 plus the president, and that's on top of all the idiots. Like, Kamala Harris theoretically has nothing wrong with her mentally or physically. She's just an idiot. And she's number 2. So, like, we got somebody with dementia. Like, it shows how, like, gross this machine is. Because it's like, so you're telling me the Senate Majority Leader just disappears sometimes and everything's running just the same? President, a couple other senators, not even there. Things just run. It's like, oh yeah, things will just keep running. It's like, oh, it's almost like it doesn't even matter who's elected. Like, it's just one big corrupt machine.
I wonder what happens when he's not on camera. Like, what are we not seeing?
Oh, for real. Because that was the thing. Like, in the clip, the probably press secretary, I don't know everybody's roles in this, but she was very calm about, oh, Senator, did you hear the question? Oh, okay. Oh, about re-election. Okay, everybody, we're going to have to pause this. And, like, she didn't freak out. And then when she was like, hey, it's over here, other dude walked up, calm as a Hindu cow. I was just like, hey. And he literally just turned his back to all the press. He leaned towards McConnell, just, and so whispered some incantation. And all of a sudden, McConnell was just, I'm people now. That dude's so corrupt. Mitch McConnell, he's saying Republicans are tough on China, That's what Republicans are. They're tough on China. But that dude's got an international freight, like, shipping company. His wife he met is a very nice woman of Chinese descent. Her family is a very prominent business, a prominent family in business in China. And so with this shipping company, McConnell had a ship or something, had a boat. But somehow, McConnell's in-laws were like, let's introduce you to some people. And McConnell said, "Bah." And so now he has a fleet of ships, and China paid for all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, those ships are very not cheap. They're very expensive, like millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, maybe. I mean, they're expensive. And he's got, I don't know, I forget what it was, 6, 8, something like that. And he didn't have to pay one dime for them. Tough on China, cocaine Mitch.
Well done.
Yeah, I know, but don't worry, he's not in anybody's pocket. And like Biden collecting his bags of cash, he's not in anybody's pocket. It's fine. It's just normal stuff. This is just how normal life goes.
This is fine.
This is fine. Everything's fine. Well, some new. Oh, actually, if we're going to do new news, I'm going to start with some breaking news that happened while we're attending to our issues. The lead singer of Smash Mouth just died.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He had like liver failure or something like that. And so he was in hospice and he died like a few minutes ago. Or maybe an hour ago. I don't know. Sometime as we were recording or something. But yeah, like 53, 56, something like that. But yeah, he got his game on and he went and played. But apparently he played with lots of things that were bad for his liver. But yeah, so he day. Now, how will we find bucket hats? I thought Smash Mouth was going to get a real resurgence because of bucket hats coming back into style. I don't know why Bucket's hat. They just remind me of that band. Was the first album, the first music video, were they wearing those or something?
I don't even remember.
I don't either. I just remember like bucket hats and I think of Smash Mouth. All right. So, arguably more important news. So, as we know, our government is trying to get more and more the direction of not having to pass laws with like legislators, because then they have to admit they voted a certain way and they might not get reelected, might not be able to get as much money. So the administrative state is something that we've really been trying to empower over the last X number of years, where it can be like, we set up an administrative agency and then they just make rules and they govern all of us and we all have to obey, just live by them. But they never actually became a law. They're regulation. It's different. It's different. Yes, you break regulations, you get fined and you might have to go to jail, like a law. So it's like that, but it's different if you think about it. So there's this little organization that loves shooting dogs, and their name is the ATF. And so if you ever are worried that an Amish guy might be selling guns or that somebody's dog might just be barking too much, you call the ATF, they will make sure that Amish guy pays, and they will shoot everyone's dogs. But now they have decided to just go ahead and skip over any sort of legislative process, and they're just going to enact what they call universal background checks. And so basically, the ATF has changed some rules on what they call the gun show loophole. Are you aware of the gun show loophole?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with gun shows. It's about private sellers. Most people at gun shows actually have their license, and so they do run background checks and stuff because it's a business, and they're paying the money for the booth, and they're just like, yeah, I've got an FFL, I got, I'm set up. This is my business. I'm going to sell some guns. So very few guns by quantity are sold with the gun show loophole, which just means if I want to sell you a gun, Charlie, I don't have to run a background check on you. That's it. I'm not a business. I got a gun. You want my gun? I'll sell it to you. No background check needed. So the ATF says, no, that stays. That stays. As long as you're not trying to make any profit on it. You go, well, so what? They go, yeah, if your gun's like new, maybe you have the original packaging or anything like that, that might be, you might need to go ahead and get a background check. Also, if you're going to try and make money on the sale, you're doing your business now. And you're like, what? They go, unless it's a collectible. You go, okay. We kind of determine whether it's a collectible or not. And, even then, you have to be selling it in order to expand your collection, not to make profit. So you got this whole thing where they're just like, if someone is making money on the deal, then basically they're a gun shop. And as a gun shop, they got to do the background check. They got to pay the money. They got to do all this stuff. And so it's this really stupid thing where they're going to start like basically auditing you to be like, well, what's your cost basis on that pistol? How much money did you make? And like, I can imagine people are just like, what? And you would think you can just argue time value of money or whatever. It's like, yeah, it was $400 when I got it, but that was in, 2001. And, inflation's been a thing. But it's something the Biden administration and a lot of Democrat people have been pushing for. They don't want to wait for a law to pass because they know they can't pass anything, especially when it's unconstitutional. Let's see, what were the other fun things here? You can occasionally sell a firearm only to obtain more valuable, desirable, or useful firearms for either personal collection or hobby, unless their conduct also demonstrates a predominant intent to earn a profit. So that's the big determining factor. You can't hope that any of your purchases appreciate in value of their guns. You just have to sit there and go, well, I'll sell it at a loss for you. That's what I'm thinking will help. All right. I've got a couple one fun thing. Burning Man. So we're going to go to the video that starts with climate defiance. So this is just enjoyable. Normally, I don't take a lot of pleasure in things like police violence. But this is a native land, and therefore, it was stolen from them, and they've had it bad and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're allowed to do whatever they want. That's going to be my view on the matter. But basically, on the road out, like the highway, leading out to the Burning Man Festival, these climate activists decide they're going to do the most obnoxious thing in the world, which is shut down the whole damn road by sitting in it and blocking everybody. And I got to say, like, peaceful protests, all that. Once you start blocking roads to people, it's just like, I hope you get run over. Like, I know you're not supposed to kill people, but if somebody just runs you over, like with a big Hummer or something, like, I understand. Like, if I was in the jury, I'd be like, I don't know, premeditated. It could have been an accident. Feels like an accident.
I mean, technically, you're jaywalking.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's hit play. Boom! Pour through it. And they gave him a heads up before that, like, you have this much time to leave. The screams of nonviolence. We're nonviolent. We're nonviolent. Her cries really do it for me. We're environmental protesters. The audacity. So that was the beginning of Burning Man, was those jokers trying to block everything to make their point, which by the way, they're not blocking a road to, like, I don't know, some oil meeting or some, Republican club. Like, it's Burning Man. It's going to be a bunch of people, like, listening to music and doing drugs out in the desert, Like, I don't think a lot of people are anti your position, environmental people, Like, I think these people share your perspective. And they just say, I'm going to block the road. And so, the longer clip, the guy in the truck's just like, you got, whatever it is, 90 seconds to get out of the road. If you do not get out of the road in 90 seconds, then whatever. And so sure enough, you just and then dragged them all different directions. So it's like, sorry, you're on tribal land and you're blocking their road, so they got you off. Just like the blocking roads and like putting paint and crap on paintings, like food and stuff. I hate that. And like, no matter what you're protesting, like, I now support the other thing. And you're like, I'm anti-pollution. It's like, well, now I support pollution. So, I love it. I never thought about liking it, but now I love it. I like my air where I can kind of chew on it a little bit. I take my plastic bags, I just throw them in the ocean. It's fine. Sometimes I cut it up in small microplastics and scatter them around. Try and shove straws up turtles' noses. It's just what I do now. It's my new policy.
Anti-environment marketing. I love it.
That's right. It's like, I'll have you know, this truck gets just about 2 miles to the gallon. But don't worry. It also blasts some nice dark clouds of smoke. Yeah, and so that was how it started. And so then people eventually got to Burning Man. And then it got worse. Where, death investigation launched at Burning Man. Flooding strands 70,000 at festival. At Chris Rock escaped by hitchhiking. This is from Blaze Media. It says thousands of attendees have been stranded at the site of the Burning Man Festival after the desert area in Nevada was flooded. Authorities are investigating a death at the eccentric festival held at Black Rock City, Nevada. Storms poured 0.8 of an inch of rain in the Black Rock Desert between Friday and Saturday. So over 3 days, it was less than 1 inch. But being the desert, the 24-hour rainfall total was the same amount of rain that the area receives in 2 to 3 months. So they don't get a lot of rain because it's the desert. The rain caused the typically arid desert grounds to transform into thick clay-like mud. Let's see. Apparently, a lot of where this is, is being held in the playa. The playa is an ancient lake bed, and when it's wet, it can be impassable. Vehicles can get stuck due to the fine silt and clay minerals that exist on the playa. Stuck vehicles can also impact the playa ecosystem. Additionally, cell phone service can be spotty, and towing services are limited. Stay off the wet playa and stay unstuck. So yeah, like all these people, because the clay was real, like your vehicle couldn't move. So all these people are sitting there. They're like, man, preserve your food, preserve your water, just be patient. And like everybody just kind of got stuck at a rained out Burning Man. I guess it was a raining man. But there was let's see. At some point here, I guess there's a DJ called DJ Diplo. And he posted a video of Instagram. He and Chris Rock walked 6 miles through the mud and then hitchhiked in the back of some dude's pickup truck to get to the airport. So a 6 mile walk followed by just riding in some dude's pickup bed to get to the airport. It was just like, oh, I love Chris Rock.
Yeah, I think I saw a video of him in the back of a truck saying that all he wanted was a nice cold beer.
Sure he did. Oh, God, after a 6 mile walk in the desert. Holy jeez. I kind of forgot about that aspect. It is 6 miles in the desert, even with it being wet. Ugh. So Burning Man ended up not turning out so good for lots of people involved. I don't even know if that's something I ever want to do. Burning Man, it just seems like such a thing.
Yeah, it looks interesting, but I have a feeling right when I get there, I'd be like, nah.
I'm stuck here now. That's Mike can see. Yeah, like the way to get it, especially like this line. Did that in the video just now? Did it do the wide shot of the line of cars and the one where they wrecked the environmentalists? You would have noticed if it did. The line of cars was going back miles and miles. Like the amount of traffic being held up was, I don't know how many miles.
Oh yeah, in the beginning of the video, it shows
Yeah. Well, at some point, and I think it pulls back, and you're just like, holy cow, like as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, it's going into the horizon. You can see the line going back.
Yeah, so it's like in the desert horizon, which goes pretty far. And it's all those people are waiting, and just like driving through with all those people, I don't want to do that. Like in general, I don't want to do that. So that's part of it. What was another thing? This is something that I haven't really seen. Well, actually, before we get too serious, I guess we got to talk about Donald Trump's mugshot, because we weren't able to get on here last week. I'll pull that up. Let's see it. Let's see that mug. Yeah, so this was for the indictment in Atlanta, of course. And this is the one. Yeah, look at him. Look at all defined Donald. I wonder how many shots, like how many faces they workshop to get that one, you know? I thought he was going to go with a smile. I thought he was kind of go Trump 24. But no.
Ghostbusters?
You feel like it's a Ghostbusters pose?
The painting of the evil guy?
Yeah, what's that guy's name?
I can't remember the character now.
Yeah, he had some funny name, yeah. It does look like that painting. Maybe that's where they got the idea. We're just like, remember that creepy painting? It almost took over New York. Maybe try it. But yeah, you know, they said they were going to make him do a mugshot, and they sure did. And I think it kind of makes it all look sillier. But they got that mugshot, and he looks all grumpy gills. Of course, immediately after that, they release it as a T-shirt and all sorts of products, and they have their largest single-day fundraising of the campaign, making $7 million in one day. And everybody else is grabbing it and selling merch left and right. Like, this face can be everywhere. One of the funnier things I heard from the right was people saying, like, oh, with this mugshot stuff, I mean, he's just wrapping up the black vote. Like, this mugshot is going to be like Tupac or something. But it's like, so you think the black vote is going to go to Donald Trump because he has a mugshot? I was like, is that because you think all black people have mugshots and now it's more relatable? Is that Is that what we're going with here? It seems to be what they're going with.
Wow.
Yeah. And, somebody, well, no, being prosecuted unfairly, like a lot of black people have been prosecuted unfairly. It's like, I mean, okay, I guess that has happened. I mean, it has happened. But I still don't know about your theory. Like, now that he's been arrested, black people are going to love him.
Yeah, I don't think it's... Well, yeah, and the persecution, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily... I think a lot of different backgrounds get wrongfully convicted of whatever.
And, it is true that if you're talking about, like, the Southeast, especially the farther you go back, yeah, black people got things pinned on them a lot. But I just don't think that's a safe assumption to make. Like, black people are just sitting there being like, well, about whatever, I forget what his numbers were. About 17% of us really liked him in that last election. It's like, oh, he got arrested? 80%. It's like, I didn't know he was getting arrested. Shit. I guess if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Wrong guy. Yeah, but so what? How did you feel when you got to see the mugshot come to be?
Oh, I wasn't surprised at all. I didn't expect it to be this good, and when I say good, hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expected something like this.
Yeah, no, it's it is nice. It's a good one. I'm interested, not just how much he raises, overall how much revenue is generated. Because people that hate Trump are selling shirts with his face on it. People that love Trump are selling shirts with his face on it. This could be the top selling image of all time outside of like Jesus or something, So, now Donald Trump can say, some people say bigger than Jesus. I didn't say that, of course. Big fan of JC, but some people say bigger deal than Jesus.
What would DT do?
Mm-hmm. DT to JC. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. Hanging out and high-fiving and stuff. All right, so there's a couple things that has happened that actually we should all be concerned about. One, I guess we'll go back in time, do this other one first. That's not the right article. That is it. Just get out of here. All right. So, 6 new countries are set to join BRICS, including Iran and Saudi Arabia, according to Politico. Leaders of the BRICS group has decided to invite 6 more countries to join their alliance. Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE have all been invited to become members of BRICS, said South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who hosted a 3-day summit in Johannesburg. We value the interest of other countries in building a partnership with BRICS. We have asked our foreign ministers to further develop the BRICS partner country model and a list of prospective partner countries and report by next summit. The decision to broaden the grouping reflects a lack of progress in deepening the existing BRICS alliance, which, despite representing a third of the global GDP, has divergent interests, ranging from China's rise as a global superpower to India's non-alignment, to Brazil's status as a farm exporter. Some of the new members, notably Saudi Arabia and Iran, have a history of troubled relations, holding out little prospect of a coherent action beyond strengthening the representation of the Middle East and the African bloc. Okay, so, there's these countries. They might not all join. 6 of them have been invited to, hop in there with China and Russia, Brazil, and India. So it's like, all right, well, what is the big deal about 6 more countries joining? One thing that BRICS has been looking into is, one, trading without the U.S. dollar. So if you want to buy oil from Russia, maybe you buy it in what is it, rupees? Whatever. The right rubles. Yeah. And so, but you can buy it in whatever native currency. So hey, screw the U.S. dollar. We'll just sell in different currencies. Well, that alone, if you all of a sudden China and Russia, India, Brazil, especially if the Saudis get in there, and now they're trading with one another without dollars being around, Well, that's that whole movement of the dollar thing they talk about. And so suddenly people don't need our dollars for commerce, especially for petrodollar. And that means our dollar gets worth even less. And so that'll be something where when our dollar's worth less, of course, the same thing is prices go up. So, we'll have our $10 of buying power. Soon we'll buy $5 or what have you. Not to mention BRICS has also been trying to come up with a unified currency. Now, this one I don't see happening, but I assume it'd be a digital asset. But if they had a brick coin, and all of a sudden it was just like, okay, we're only trading in brick coin. Well, that will definitely hurt the U.S. dollar, because then other countries will be like, well, I don't know, I might want to trade with, because say you're China, you wanted to mess with us. You go, okay, well, shipment's $100 U.S., or it's $80 if you buy it in brick coin. People go, well, of course I'm going to buy it in brick coin, save 20%, done and done. Brick coin value goes up, U.S. dollar goes down. And so that would be very troubling for the economy, because oil will definitely get more expensive and food will definitely get more expensive. And after that, everything else just tumbles. So on top of that, this is the article that I was flipping through. I guess it's from August 30th in the Washington Post. Delinquencies rise for credit cards and auto loans, and it could get worse. So more Americans are falling behind on their car loans and credit card payments than at any time in more than a decade, a troubling sign of consumer stress as higher prices and rising borrowing costs are squeezing household budgets. The pain is more acute for lower income earners who have largely used whatever they managed to save during the pandemic with the help of government stimulus checks to brakes on obligations such as rent and student loans. The increase in delinquencies and defaults is symptomatic of the tough decisions that these households are having to make right now, whether to pay their credit card bills, their rent, or buy groceries. So basically, let's see, average credit card, is really high. There is, do you have it pulled up right now? If you scroll down, there's a little line graph, delinquencies by type. Yeah. So you can see, right now, we're the highest we've been since, 2000, over a decade. And we're on the trend of going back up towards 2008 kind of levels. But what this says is there's a lot of people, especially, as income gets lower, that are having to use credit cards just to get by with normal stuff, not even vacations or fun things like that. It's just like they got their auto rate. But, inflation's gone up. Maybe they've gotten a raise, maybe not. But either way, groceries have gone up and everything, gas, all the stuff. And so just to get by, they're having to dip into credit cards, which have over a 20% interest rate on them. And so this is just trying to make do. And because of that, because of the juggling, they go, oh, now maybe I don't pay my car note this month. I'll catch up next month. I don't pay the credit card. I'll do the minimum this month and try and catch up. Or maybe I can't even do that. And so we're seeing numbers that are at a 10-year high and growing. So I think it'd be very wise for everyone to, when you look at the international stage of countries getting together to eliminate the U.S. dollar, when you combine that with the fact that we're raising interest rates, but we're not doing anything we're just playing the same games, hoping that things are good. We're still saying things like, well, the economy is actually very strong. The job market right now is very strong. So we're still talking in circles about how good we are right now. But it's just like, all right, so people are defaulting. If they default, that's bad for the banks. More of that. There's more runs on banks. Kind of like how we've been already bailed out banks to a higher tune now than in 2008. As that keeps going, especially we keep raising interest rates, and they're going to keep going. And so any bank's position on bonds, that's why we've lost a couple already. But if there's a couple more doing safe bonds, as these rates go up, at some point there'll be runs on other banks, just because if they were that heavy into them, and now they're losing investment, then somebody looks at the books of that bank and goes, hey, you're upside down and you've got like my money. It's like, I would like my money now. Like, I will go ahead and take it out. And especially if you're one of these rich cats that have over the $250,000 amount, which, you know, I know for like a condo association, that's not uncommon. They actually created a new product for that where they do this weird bank swap thing. So, you know, banks are always lending to one another. You know, so it's just like overnight they put it in a bunch of different bank accounts and they bring it back, and a bunch of different ones and bring it back. And so you stay insured. But I worry about that. But, you know, but there's lots of, you know, there's there's groups like that could have high balances without being a rich fat cat, you know? And so all of a sudden people start going, ooh, like I know FDIC says I'm covered for this amount, but if I got more than that, like I'm in trouble. Like, let's get that out and put it in a different bank. And the more that happens, the more we'll see things tumble. And I think, you know, it's funny with the residential real estate market, companies over the last few years have, especially with the easy free money from the Fed, you know, we're basically borrowing at 0%. And so they're buying up houses. They're paying people 20% over asking price, just going in, like looking at it as a 30-year plan, going like, well, in 30 years it'll be worth more. So they're just buying up. And so as they bought houses above market, the market went up. So all the value, like houses became more and more expensive. People were getting priced out, and now they're sitting on a portfolio of rental homes. They go, well, you can't afford to buy, of course, but you're going to rent one. And I think that's keeping the residential inventory real low. So that's why we don't see prices dipping quite yet. But I think commercial is where we'll see a lot of crashing. And any companies who've done the house purchase by cross collateralizing, you know, the more they're tied up with each other, the more that one can be a domino. But I think that stuff's coming. I think it's going to be rough. I don't know if it'll be worse than 2008. I mean, it has the right pieces. It has the right pieces to be worse than 2008. But it might just be more. There might be fewer people losing their homes, just because it might be based. They might be less stretched than corporate buyers who were really playing the cheap money game, you know, because now that money's not so cheap and they got to catch up. And refinancing in general, like on a commercial level. So like a lot of these people that have lots of like office towers, like a lot of those companies, they have their loans coming up like the end of this year, next year, whatever, that they really will need to refinance before they hit a bubble, you know? But things are a lot tighter. I know a relative with a company that's a lot of heavy machinery involved, right? And so it takes, before you get paid a dime, you have to spend a lot of money to get machinery out the door, manpower, you know, the unions, all that kind of stuff. So just to start a job, you know, before you've collected $1, you may have spent $1 million or $2 million. And it's just normal. It's just the industry, heavy machines and all that. But because of that, you carry a line of credit, you know, and you just play that. You know, there's been some refinancing stuff that's been challenging there because people are assets are not being looked at the same way. They want liquidity, you know, like banks are looking more like, what am I going to do with whatever, a property and some machines to sell at auction? I don't need that. I'll be out of business. Like, I need some cash somewhere. It's like, so can't you put up cash? It's like, put up the cash. Why would I need the line of credit? You know? But no, I think a lot of different business industries over the next year is when I think we'll really see who's going to be able to make it. I think there'll be some consolidation, you know, big banks getting bigger, some companies getting bigger. And then there'll be some things that just kind of just domino down. So that's my cheery news. Had you seen anything about the delinquencies or anything like that, or any talk about BRICS?
I mean, the whole, I kind of watched the BRICS thing, and I'm wondering about countries that currently owe the U.S. dollars. You know, could we offset the BRICS issue by saying, hey, you still have to pay us back in dollars, so convert your BRICS, if that goes that route, into dollars before you pay us. I don't know.
Yeah. The problem is, I don't know how many people owe. Like, we give money away, but like China like lends money. Like, and then they go, you can't pay. I take that port. You know, like that's a nice port you got there, and those are some nice lithium mines. Like, you need to pay us back. We got a plan. You know, America's just like, we send out the door. You know, all this cash to this country. Why the hell? It's like, well, they keep the Suez Canal open without people shooting at us. It's like, so we send them how many millions of dollars just to like not shoot at us when we go through the water? They go, yeah, that's it. And it's like, okay, they pay us back? No. It's like, okay, like Ukraine. Have you heard anything about a loan to Ukraine? No. No, that's, I mean, there is no free lunch. I mean, obviously, it's a colony of the United States, and anybody that's pro-Ukraine in this matter, I mean, I would like Ukraine not to die, and this whole war to be over, but the people that, like, put the flag in their bio and the sticker on their car and all that kind of stuff and just say, nope, they should say until that whole country is decimated, every citizen is dead. They should just keep fighting for, these territories that they've been in conflict forever. So yeah, I just, all those people don't seem to understand that we're not, yes, we're doing it to weaken Russia, of course. We're doing it to weaken Russia. We're trying to give them a new Afghanistan. Like they did Afghanistan because we wanted them to have a new Vietnam. And so then we went to Afghanistan and we're like, oh, that's right. And so now we're like, well, let's give one of those to Russia now. And so we gave them Ukraine. And so they'll just sit there and spend money and we don't care how many Ukrainians we have to watch die and how many of their buildings, their cities, like the decimation over there. Some of their beautiful, like architecture is just gone. But we're not doing it because we're nice. Like that's going to be the colony of the United States. Like, come on. BlackRock's already over there talking about rebuilding. I know they're bigger than a country, which is something, but they grease here just like they greased there. That's, I don't know what it's going to be. Like, I don't know how they're going to rebuild it, but it's probably going to look like shopping malls and shit, It's going to be a bunch of Best Buys and McDonald's and whatever. So, I just don't know how people... It's because they're not even looking anymore. I put the Ukraine flag up. Putin should stop. He should leave. He should die. It's like, okay. I don't know if you've ever, like, compromised with people before, but, like, if your position is the guy who's currently kind of winning... What he needs to do is die or step down from office, give up the territory that he holds. One of them he's held for over a decade, like he holds the territory and you're like, give it all back, step down from your post, leave immediately. It's like, and you won't join NATO? They're like, no, maybe we still will. We're allowed to do that. It's like, okay. And so Russia gets... what? Like, oh, you don't have to spend any money anymore. It's like, okay, this is stupid. This is all stupid. Anyway.
Well, then the other red flag that supports that is the fact that whenever we ask the government, we audit the government, hey, can you show us the trail of this money and assets? And they're like, what are you talking about?
We don't have to do that. They just flick us off both hands. Like, fuck you. It's like, no, we're not doing it. It's like, oh, okay. I just thought maybe since it's like my money. They're like, it's not your money. We spent that a long time ago. You see how much debt we have? We're borrowing this money. We're inventing it. We're not spending your money. We're devaluing your money. Like, we spent all your money years ago. Now we'll just devalue it because government. We did it. But that's the only thing, like, with this whole race, whether it's probably going to be Trump versus Biden. Like, Trump still, after all this, he's still sitting at 50%. Ramaswamy looks like he's a little surge here. Who knows if he actually surges. DeSantis is kind of staying there at second place at 13-15%. Nikki Haley got a little bit of a bump, which made sense. She did okay in the debate. She came out as an adult with governor experience and all that kind of stuff. Tim Scott basically came out as nothing. He just sounded like a politician. Like, it was a fine story, but there's nothing there. He should drop out. And Chris Christie just wanted to be like, I'm a tough guy and I like sandwiches. And so that was his. He kept wanting to fight with Ramaswamy. Mike Pence is the one that I'm most surprised about. I watched that whole thing. I was like, Pence is done. I was like, this was embarrassing. He keeps interrupting and talking over people. Like, this is like, when he does get a chance, he sounds like, 1950s Sears salesman or something. Where it's just like, no, listen, what we're gonna do? Good over for United States of America. It's like, okay, cool. But like he spent so much time interrupting and yelling, and I was like, he's done. But somehow he got a bump. Not by a lot. He's still, let's see, Trump, DeSantis, Ramaswamy, Haley. Pence is like 5th or 6th. Christie got a little bump, I think mainly for like New Hampshire, but he was also at like nothing. Like, him and Pence were at nothing, so their bumps got him up. But like, Haley's the only one that sort of leapfrogged anybody. Anyway, I think they should all, like, at this point, I guess anybody can get a surge. Christie's fun to watch. Ramaswamy's a lot of fun to watch. Haley can stay, I guess. But like the other ones, like Pence needs to go. The dude from wherever the hell where he broke his leg before the debate, he's got to go. And then the other guy, Asa Hutchinson, your favorite guy from the state of
Hutchinson.
Yeah, no one's ever heard of him. He was the former governor of Arkansas. The other guy, I forget, Burnham, something. I forget, something like that. He's like governor of South Dakota or North Dakota.
Wow.
North Dakota, maybe? Because South Dakota is what's her face, right? Anyway, he's got good eyebrows. Very nice eyebrows. But apparently he's done a good job as governor. But who cares? And so, anyway, all those people just need to leave. I just want to see, I don't know. It'd be good to get Trump up there, but it'd be nice to have Trump and like DeSantis and Ramaswamy and Christie. And I mean, Nikki Haley's fine too, I guess. But the rest, like, let's just get them up there fighting. It'd be fun. Ramaswamy was, I guess, I thought he did a lot better than the polls are showing. I think some people found him to be arrogant and obnoxious, which I found hilarious. So he was a little bit like that, and I enjoyed every moment of it, but I guess not everybody is looking for what I'm looking for. Just someone that's pissing off everybody. And it's like, by the way, I'm going to shut down the FBI. It's like, good. He just laid out his plan for shutting down the FBI again, so that's good. He says you can eliminate, I forget how many. He's like, there's 20,000. He's like, you can eliminate day one. He's like, it's redundancies. It's, people that work in other agencies like the Rangers and all this other stuff. He's like, let them do that. It's like, I agree. I don't even care. Like, if you're saying fire 20,000 of anybody in the government, I support it. FBI, yep. ATF, yep. Department of Education, yep. EPA, yep. Just 20,000. I don't care. Just State Department, military, 20,000, whatever. Military might be a challenge, but we have lots of admirals that probably need to retire. Anyway, I think that'll wrap us up for this Labor Day weekend extravaganza. Everybody remember to subscribe and like and do the other things on the YouTubes and the Rumbles and the other things. I don't know, Spotify things, iTunes. Okay. Charlie?
Till next time, Planet Earth.
Stay on planet Earth. All right.